Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be going over my top 5 picks for beginning fishermen. I did a video on 5 steps to get started. That way, if you're interested in going fishing or you want to learn how to go fishing, you want to start taking your kids fishing, I put out a video that has 5 simple steps to start fishing, and I'm going to talk about the step number one. Number one is, what do you want to fish for? So I got that question and I wanted to kind of go over that. And we're going to start with my top 5 picks. If you want to start fishing, here's the top 5 I think you should start looking into. And you should be able to recognize some of them because they're really, you might have heard of them. And you just look into them and they're going to be really good choices for you. The first one is probably one of the most common fish that people get started fishing with. Like for me, it got me started at 3. A lot of kids, a lot of people that have been fishing for a long time started with this species. And we're talking about bluegill. Now, bluegill is a small panfish and it's relatively easy to catch. There's a simple setup you can use to catch them. They're fun, they're very aggressive, and if you can find a few, you can catch and have fun. And they're great for taking kids and showing them the whole process of fishing because it's fun. You get to get them involved, and they're easy to catch, so they're gonna have fun doing that. And that's one of my first picks. So if you're interested in going fishing, and you can do this with your kids, which is really good because, like for me, I want to be able to take kids and teach them how to fish. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'll be taking them out. We're going to be looking for panfish. The first one is bluegill, right? So bluegill are pretty much common all across the country, and you can find them in many different types of bodies of water. And what happens is you can just find a dock or a pond or a creek or a little body of water. They're pretty much everywhere, right? And that way you can have a fish that you can find easily, and then you can get started and go practice, catching fish. You'll learn the whole techniques about everything. And the good thing is there's a lot of there's a lot of ways you can catch them, but the simple way is you use a really light rod, 2 to 4 pound test, with a small hook and a bobber with a little split shot and a hook. Now you can use different types of bait. You can catch bluegill on lots of different things. It could be um, worms, which means red worms, many pieces of mini nightcrawler, pieces of nightcrawler, crickets. You can use any kind of little little flies, and so they pretty much eat little small presentations. One of the most popular is obviously get some red worms or get some worms and just take a little piece of them, put it on the hook, put it under a bobber, cast it out by, if you have any kind of structure around, like bushes or trees or grass or things like that, right by the shore, so you'll be able to find them there. That's a really good technique for those. Those are bluegill. That's my number one. Again, if you want to start looking at those, they're really, really good to get started fishing. The second one along the lines of that is crappie. Now, crappie is another panfish, and these are you can catch different times. Better times in the year you can catch them because they spawn between depending where you are between February and March, and they are also around the trees and also too. And you can catch those on similar rods as a bluegill, but you should probably step up your line to about 6 pound test, and you can catch them on minnows with a little bigger hook and under a bobber with a split shot. And those are two species that kind of go together. So when you start fishing for bluegill, now you can use your gear to keep and try and fish for crappie on different types of the year, right? So with back to crappie, you can catch them around docks. Those are really good places to catch them. You can use different types of jigs, and you do a little research. There's a lot of people that have them that are available from 1/16 ounce to 1/8 ounce to 1/32 ounce. So there are different sizes. I like to use 1/16 ounce for me, but because that's about good size. And you use minnows, but you can also use little jigs. Those catch a lot of crappie too. So you can start those with bluegill, or you can also catch crappie. The next one I would say is trout. Now trout are they're found in lakes, they're found in streams, right? In rivers, a lot of people can fly fish for them, which you think is kind of complicated. But you can also catch those with a rod similar to the crappie and the bluegill, but they use what they call power bait. They cast them, it's like a dough, okay? You use small hooks, and you fish for these on the bottom. And what happens is you use a small size 6 hook, and this is power bait. It's like a dough. You know, it's like you roll it up in a little dough around the hook, and it actually floats. So you put the hook with the power bait on it about 3 or 4 inches, maybe 6 inches away from it. You put a split shot, and then you cast that out on a little, micro light or a nice light rod too, and you'll fish those on the bottom too. That's another way you can catch them on the lakes. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of the lakes in here, I'm in Northern California, and the ponds, we have some ponds around town, they stock the trout in the wintertime. So they raise them in the hatcheries and they'll put them in the ponds, and that makes them easier. So do some research, figure out what ponds they'll stock yours, or what lakes, because there's a really good planting program all across the country. You just got to do a little research where you're at and see where they plant the trout, right? And then you can go when they do that, and you catch them on what they call power bait. Power bait is, like I said, a little dough, put it on a little hook, and you can catch a lot of trout like that too. And it's great for kids, to teach them how to fish as well. So that's number 3. Number 4 is catfish. And catfish are like warmer water, so this is summertime, so now people can catch catfish. And catfish are off the bottom. Use bigger hooks. You use bigger gear, so you're going to need a bigger rod. You can catch them on the pole that I was talking about, but you want bigger gear because they get a lot bigger, right? And so you can use different types of bait on catfish. There's a lot of different, they call them stink baits. They like, the more it smells, the more it attracts them, because catfish feed off the bottom. And you use bigger weights, bigger hooks with bigger pieces of bait on them, cast them out, and you can catch them on the bottom as well. And you cast out and just wait. And the catfish will smell your bait, come up, and then you'll watch your bite, and you'll be able to catch some catfish. So use bigger gear, which is like a medium rod, probably 8 to 12 pound test, depending on where you are. Some of those catfish get really big, so you want 10 to 20 pound, probably 10 to 20 pound test capability for your rod, right? That's going to get you enough horsepower to get that fish on the shore. So, and use bigger hooks, size 1/0 or 2/0 hooks, and just any kind of bait. People use from chicken to different stink baits they have, right? To liver, and you can catch them on worms. You can catch them on cut baits, lots of different types of cut baits, like sardines and anchovies, and cut up pieces of bluegill, or because they eat everything and they're off the bottom. People catch them on shrimp when they're in the East Coast. They catch them on all different types of things. But you're gonna need bigger gear, bigger hooks, and bigger weights so you can catch them on the bottom, right? People catch them fishing for other stuff too, because they do cruise around. Number 5 is largemouth bass. Now, those are the most popular fish around, because you see those, they have tournaments on TV, and they're the biggest sport fish around. They're the most popular, right? And you can catch them on lots of different things. A lot of people catch them on artificial presentations, which is fake lures, fake worms, fake fish imitating lures, and they'll catch them, and you can catch them from the shore too. You know what I mean? You can catch them around off the shore, but if you have a boat, it's going to be a little easier for you too, right? So those are my top 5 picks. If you're thinking about going fishing, you want to get started going fishing, number 1 is bluegill, because they're really easy to catch. You need light gear. Take the kids out. Use a bobber with a split shot and a hook. Use a worm, a cricket, and then you'll be able to catch those too. Crappie is number 2. You can use a bobber, the same thing, but you might be able to do a little deeper with jigs and minnows, right? You can catch crappie like that. Number 3 is trout. That's when you use the power bait, okay? And you can fish for those on the bottom. Number 4 is catfish. Catfish eat a lot of stuff off the bottom, so you can use chicken. Like I said, you can use chicken liver, sardines, cut up fish like that. Number 5 is bass, and that's with artificial lures. So if this information helps, check it out. and I'll see you on the next one.